So I went ahead and did some static import for the stateless and the public URLs. Now we should be able to test the API and make sure that the security comes into play to stop unauthenticated users to access our API. Now there's one last thing I want to fix. So if we go to the filters and we go to the authorization filter, we have to add an exclamation mark here because we're checking for if this authorization header does not start with the prefix here. And I was doing all the explaining and stuff. I forgot to add this in here, but you have to negate this check so that it can be reversed whenever this is being checked. Otherwise, it's gonna throw off all your logic here. So make sure you do that before you actually start the application and stuff. So go back to the authorization filter class, and then on line 37, make sure you have this exclamation mark so that you can reverse this Boolean check. So now one last thing that I want to show you, if we go back to the user resource, you can see how here this is mapping to user/home, right? And if you remember, if we go back to the security constant, we don't have this mapping as one of the URLs that is open to the world. You can see we have user login, register, reset password, and user image, but we don't have anything for user home. So what that means is that if we try to go to user/home, we should get a message. So the authentication entry point should fire in, and we should get a message like this coming from this this class right here. So let's go ahead and start the application and try this out. You can just click on this green arrow here. I already clicked on it, so it's grayed out now. Or you can go to the main class and then right click and click on run like this. So go to the main class. You can see you can click it here again, or just right click and then click on run. So application is starting. It's just gonna take a few seconds because it's very small application at this point. So let's make sure it's up. So now you can see it's up. Let's check this log for a second. You can see our Hibernate queries are being fired to create everything that we need in the database, which is the table for our user. And you can see it starts on port 8081. You should also be able to see all of the filters that we created. So if we go here, as you can see, it says creating filter chain, and if we look in this list, you can see it's an array. We should be able to see one of ours. So let's see, scroll, and this is ours. You can see this is our filter. Okay, so that's just confirmation that it's adding our filter to the filter chain whenever there's a request that comes in. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that it's not something you would usually do. You should already know by the code that your filter is going to be entered. So if we go back now, so let's go back to the resource, right? So we have to go to user/home. So let's bring in the actual browser, and then let's go to localhost, and that's 8081. So 8081, and we have to go to user home. So we're expecting this to fail because we don't have permission, like we don't have any headers with any authorization token or anything like that. So let's click enter. As you can see, we get this message coming from the entry point. So let me make it a little bigger. There it is right here. So you can see we have the HTTP status, and then we have forward 3 forbidden, reason also forbidden, and then the message is you need to log in to access this page because they're not logged in, they can't access this page. Now one thing I noticed here, you see how this is just information about what happened, but I think if we had like a timestamp for this, usually you would have a timestamp. So if you're a developer, you can check maybe you can have all of these messages being, saved in a log file, and then you can check them later to see all the exceptions that happen in the application. So it'd be nice if we could have a timestamp on this so we know when the actual message was sent back to us, so that we can use it for debugging purposes or whatever the question might be. Point is, I think it would make more sense if we had like a timestamp on this. Usually there's always a timestamp on those. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to close this for now, and let's go to the domain here. So this is the class that the object is created for. As you can see, that's exactly what we just saw. HTTP status code, HTTP status, reason, and message. So let's go ahead and put another field here. Let's do private, and let's call it timestamp. And oops. So that's gonna be a date. Let's do date, and that's coming from Java util. Now, what I want to do is anytime that this is being created, the constructor is being called to create an object, I don't want to give the user the ability to create the timestamp. What I want to do is I want to say for the timestamp, right, just create a new date for that anytime a new object is created. That means anytime that a user is using this to send us an HTTP response, they don't have to specify the time. As you can see, it doesn't expect the time here. So we're just gonna say, hey, when you're building this, the time is gonna be whenever this is being created, which is whenever the user is creating this, that's gonna be the timestamp of this, whenever this is created. So let's put in some getters and setters for this. So getters and setters, and we want getters and setters for the timestamp. And I'm gonna move those down. And let's put them right here. Okay, so we have the getters and setters, and then we pass in the time in here. So let's go ahead and restart the application and try this again. So I restarted the application, as you can see, started again on port 8081. And now whenever we go to that page again, we should expect to see a timestamp on this. So let's go ahead and open the browser again, and we're gonna go again to user/home, and let's enter. And as you can see, let me make this a little bigger. This time we have a timestamp, but look, we can't even understand what time that is. So let's see if we can format this real quick. So I'm gonna go back to the app, and I'm gonna use JSON format. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but you can use JSON format to format string. So I'm gonna do JSON format, and that's coming from Jackson. And let's give it a shape. So that's gonna be shape, and let's do JSON format and shape, and let's do string because that's what we want to do. So string, and let's do a pattern for let's say that's gonna be month. So for month dash the day, and then we want the year, so that's like for Y. And let's do space because we also need to specify the actual time. So that's just the date, so month, the day of the month, and the year. So let's specify the hours, and let's do minute and second. And one last thing I want to specify here, I think I need to do that, is to specify the time zone. We might not have to, but just to be sure, let's go ahead and run it and see if we would have to do that, because I think whenever you're using JSON format, you have to specify the time zone like this. But let's see what happens. If the time is not correct, then I'll specify the time zone. So I restarted the application, so let the application come back up, and then we'll check the browser again. Okay, the application is back up. As you can see, we're back up. So let's go to the browser and refresh, and it says it's 4 in the morning. So that's definitely not correct. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see I have 12 p.m. So the date is correct, right? But the time is not correct. So let's go ahead and fix that now. So we have to specify our time zone. So let's do time zone. And let's do, I'm in America, in the northeast of America. So I'm going to do America / New York. Okay, so the time zone should actually fix this. So I'm going to restart it again and let it come up. So the application is back up. Now, if we check, we should have the right time. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and 12:03. And that's correct. Okay, so now we added a timestamp to this, as you can see. So this message, you should get it coming from the entry point. Why? Because the entry point is what's handling users that are not or users that are not authenticated. And once the users are not authenticated and they try to access the application, they will get this message here. And the reason my screen looks like this, it's because I'm using some extension called JSON Viewer. So you can add it to your Scrum extension if you want, and then you get to choose one of those themes. And it's very nice. As you can see, it's a lot nicer to look at. So we have a timestamp, we have the HTTP code and the forbidden and the access page. So for now, we can't really test anything else because if we go back to the resource, you can see that we have only one mapping. So if we try to do anything else, let's say for instance, I try to go to some other stuff, right? It's gonna say, hey, we're forbidden. So we can't really test anything because we don't have any other mappings. So let's go back to the application. As you can see, we don't have any other mappings, so that's the only mapping that we have. And if we try to go to anything else, it's gonna give us the same message. So we will continue to test and we'll do thorough testing, but I just wanted to show you that when we try to go to any URL, we're gonna get this message because we're not logged in, and if we're not logged in, then the application is not going to let us access it.